Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making this cute little gnome bunny. That's what I'm calling him. I'm not going to do these colors though, but his little feetsies. Let's get started. So let's get straight to the body. I am using a 4-weight yarn and a 5mm H hook. Bear with me, these are new hooks and they're flat, they're not round, so bear with me as far as my skills go. Yeah, we're off to a good start here. Let's just jump right into this. You're going to make a magic ring and put 6 single crochets into it. You will need a stitch marker because we are going to be doing this amigurumi style. Use purple. And you will need you don't need a roll counter, but it helps. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now because it's amigurumi, we're not slip stitching or chaining. We just go right into the stitch and we get started. So put your stitch marker into this first stitch, not the second one, and then put number 2 in that same space. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around, giving you 12 stitches. I made that look awkward because of this hook. Anyway, your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's your 1 single crochet with your marker. Always number 1. Your next stitch is going to get 2 single crochets in the same space. That's your increase. And then repeat 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. All the way around, giving you 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your third stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. 1, 1, 2, all the way around. And this will give you a total of 24 stitches. So it's going to start to curl a little bit. And that's what that 1 single crochet in each stitch seems to do. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets. Sorry. Talking with the thing in my mouth. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1 with the marker. That's 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and then I want you to do 5 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, which will be 36 stitches. This will give you 36 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, and then when you're done, do 5 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like at this point. So we're going to start decreasing. I've already done my one with my marker. We're going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1 with your marker. That's 4 single crochets, and then your decrease. So your first stitch, you go in, pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on. You yarn over and come through all 3 loops. If you don't want to see your decrease as much as that, you can do invisible decrease. It just has a better look to it. You just go through the very front loop. And you do the same thing, but you're not going into the whole stitch. You're just going into that front loop. And then it gives a different sort of a look. It's not so noticeable, but it's up to you. And repeat. 4 single crochets. And a decrease. So amigurumi is supposed to be a tad tight, so might be awkward for you at first, but you'll get used to it. If you choose to do it, you don't need to. So this will take you back down to 30 stitches. And the reason we're doing 4 single crochet decrease is because we ended with 4 single crochet increase. So we're just trying to keep everything all even so it looks good. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, bringing you down to 24 stitches. And then after that, you can do 1 single crochet in each stitch. That's number 1. 3 single crochets and a decrease. So repeat this all the way around and then do 1 single crochet in each stitch for 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And then you're going to do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. It'll be all on my screen. So that's number 1. Oops. 2 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. So this brings you down to 18 stitches, and then you can do the 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So I am just stuffing mine right now. I like to put the stuffing in and then push it all out to the side and then fill that hole. I just think it gives it a better, cleaner, smoother kind of a fill. So it should look like a little bomb at this point. So try not to overstuff it. You don't want to see the filling through. So I've dug a nice hole. I'm just going to put my fill into that hole and move on. So we're going to start increasing for the head now. So if you can push on this and it bounces back, that means you have enough. If you push on it and it doesn't bounce back, that means you need more. So we ended with a 2 single crochet decrease, so we're going to start with a 2 single crochet increase, and we're going back up to 24 stitches. This will be a little more awkward to hold since it's stuffed. So that's number 1 with your marker. That's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. 1 1 2 1 1 2. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and I know it's going to get a little squishy and a little harder to hold. That's number 1, 2, and 3, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So after you've done this all the way around, I want you to do 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, so you should have 30 stitches when you're done this increase round. I'll put everything up on my screen, and I will see you on the other side. So that's what it should look like. So we're going to start decreasing now. Since we ended off with 3 single crochet increase, we're going to start with our 3 single crochet decrease. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets. Now I'm doing invisible decrease. You don't have to. You can go into the full stitch. So this will bring you back to 24 stitches. There we go. So we don't need to worry about putting eyes on this guy because it's not getting any eyes. It's a gnome, so he's just going to have a muzzle and a nose. Whiskers. And then the hat just going to come right down over where his eyes should be, so we're not putting eyes. So, your next round, lose my marker, is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 18 stitches. That's 2 single crochets, and then your decrease. And repeat. So, your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, and then we're going to decrease to close up the head. So we might as well put some stuffing in this before that all happens. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I stick it down, I push it out to the side, and then I fill a hole. And then I push that out to the side until I have, you know, the size that I want for the head. So even though I come up with a pattern, we could stuff ours completely different and they could have completely different sizes. So you've got that control. Just make sure this neck area is well stuffed. You just don't want a wobbly head. Now, he's not really big enough to have a wobbly head, but and again, try not to overfill and try not to make it bigger than his body. That's a tiny wee little head. So we'll probably put more in here to top it off after we're done our next, well, 2 rounds, because before we sew it shut, we'll just put some more in there. Top it off. I think mine's a little full right now. So, yeah, mine's a little full. I'm going to have to work around that. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. It's brings you down to 12 stitches. So my 1 single crochet, and then my decrease. I'm still doing invisible decreases, and repeat. 1 single crochet, decrease. There we go. We're going to decrease 4 times. So decreases right in a row. We don't need a marker anymore. That's number 1. 2. You don't need to pull tight, just keep it loose. 3. And 1 more. 4. So we got a pretty small hole. Go into your next stitch and fasten off. So you just need enough to finish closing this hole and then to weave, so you really don't need a whole lot. Just a wee tiny little bit. So before I sew this, I'm going to put a little more stuffing in here. I just like to fill the top part. You'll see me do this in other projects if you've followed my channel long enough. I do this in just about every project. I like to just make sure, that might be too much, that this part is getting enough stuffing to keep a nice shape. So I'm kind of picky when it comes to how this is stuffed. So I think that's fine. We can close the top up. So to close this top up, you're going to go under 1 piece of yarn, go in and out the next stitch, just like that. Just 1 piece of yarn, in and out, all the way around. So I've come back around. I've only got 1 more, so I'm going in, and then you're going to cinch that shut. That's where I just cinched shut, so I'm going to come over to the other side, and I'm going to make a knot. And I'm going to pull back and forth, pulling that right down. So when I go to weave, I'm going to go in as close as I can to my tail to weave. Pop out wherever you pop out. Doesn't matter where you pop out. So when you pull down on that, that's going to bring your center right down, and you get a nice round head. Just like that. And it looks really good. You're not going to see it at all though. Again, that's just me being anal. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word either. It's just me being picky. So I'm just going to weave a couple of times, doing the same thing, going in as close as I can to my lead, just so it looks like a stitch, and popping out somewhere. So when I pull, that is just going to look like a stitch. And then you can just cut it off by pushing down a little bit, snipping it off, just so you don't have a nubby sticking out. And there we go. So we're going to move on and build the ears before we get to the hat. Actually, let's do the muzzle first. Sorry, my camera just cut me off. Let's do the muzzle first. That gives me a better idea of where I'm putting my ears. So that's what we're going to do next. So the muzzle I'm doing in white. It's completely up to you what you want to do. I'm using a 4 ignore that number. I'm using a 4mm hook. And we're going to start with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. I hope this is not hard to see, but I'm going to turn my light down a bit. That might be easier. Your next round, we're still doing amigurumi, is going to be, I can get into it. If you struggle to get into this first stitch like I do, just take a needle and manipulate it a little bit. 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I'm not going to use my marker here. I'm just going to count to 12. So this tells me I'm back around where I should be, plus I counted to 12. So I lost my spot. Next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. This muzzle does not take any time at all. So that's my 1 single crochet, and then my increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So this is going to give you 18 stitches. And then after this you can do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And that's your muzzle. And I'll meet you back here after. So this is what you should have. So I'm going to fasten off. So I'm going to go into my next stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop and I'm going to slip stitch. And then I'm going to secure that. So you need a sewing tail to sew it to his face. So go into your next stitch and pull this through and then pull up. So that'll give it more of an even look. Since we do work in the spiral, you kind of want it to finish it off with something that looks a little more even. So that's his nose. This center part probably won't be popping open, but just in case, you can tie a small little knot and then cut that off, but leave a little nubby so it doesn't work its way open. So it's up to you what color of nose and stuff that you want. I get this stuff off of Amazon, and you get all of this for like 15 bucks. You get a whole kit, and I've got noses. So my last one I did was pink, but I got a nose like that too, which is super cute, but I think I'm going to go with a brown nose. So I'm going to use this guy here and one of my backs. I did pink on the other guy, but so you have to find, so I didn't stick it in this hole, I actually stuck it just above it, somewhere that's going to be centered a little bit, like that. Put your back on. Oh, there we go. That was hard to do. So I think I'm still going to use some brown. I'll just use some of this scrap stuff I got laying around. Again, you don't have to do the same colors as me. My last one was pink. So I just thought I would change it up a bit. So, you want to make like a mouth. So I'm going to come out this hole, the center hole here to start. So you're not going to get it as, that's about as close as I'm probably going to get it. So I want to come down, but I want to shoot up here where I want the smiley part to be. And then I'm going to come back down this hole, but then I'm going to shoot out, and I try to keep it even as you can. I'm going to shoot out where I want my other smiley mouth to be. So when I pull, it still makes that, and then just come back down the same hole. A little smiley mouth. Might be a little too smiley, but it is there. So you can just tie a knot with these two guys. Just kind of secures it a little bit before you cut it off. We are going to be putting a little bit of stuffing behind this. There's my face. So we'll put the whiskers on after we sew it to the face. So you just need to determine where you're sewing it. So I went pretty low because I wanted room for the hat. So figure out where you want it. Mine's literally all the way down to the neck. And then we sew. So I'm going to do invisible stitches. So I'm going to go into the doll and I'm going to come up into the stitch. So I'm as close to the nose as I can get. So when I pull up, it sucks the stitch underneath the nose. Just make sure you're keeping it straight. And we got to put some stuffing in this before we close it up. So, and then I come up into the next stitch, go down into the doll, come up into the next stitch. So it helps to have a hooked end like this. I'm going to turn my light up a little bit because I'm done with the white. So it helps to have a hooked end like this. Pull up and do that all the way, part way around. We got to stuff it. So I'm going to stick some stuffing in here. It's completely up to you how much you do, how round you want your nose. So once you're back around and you're satisfied with how that's on, you can just go in and pop out somewhere. So if you pull too tight like I just did, just take scissors or even your little needle and pop it back out. I'm just going to cut that off. There we go. So as far as the whiskers, again, I'm just using my scrap yarn. So decide how long you want these, and then just cut pieces. You can always trim them after, because I did 3 different sizes on my other one. Oh, I might need one more piece. So you can trim this after, but all I did was thread my needle, Figure out where you want to go in and out. Oh gosh, I don't think I cut these long enough. The camera has the worst times to shut off. Oh, I guess I didn't need that many pieces. I was thinking 6, 3 for either side, but you only need 3 pieces. So thread a little bit of it. You don't need to thread the whole piece. And then just go down into the next hole and pop out wherever you pop out. So whiskers are easy peasy. I like to keep them short so that they don't like flop. There we go. So I don't think I'm going to trim mine. I think mine are fine the way they are. So let's move on to the ears. So we're going back to our 5mm to make the ears. And you're going to start, I want pointy ears, so we're going to start with a magic ring and 4 single crochets. And that's how we're going to get a point. Well, it's part of how we're going to get a point. That's 4 single crochets. So, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch. So I'm just going to count to 8. So that's my 8. Your next round's going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's my 1 single crochet with my marker. And then an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So this will bring you up to 18 stitches. No, sorry, this will bring you up to 12 stitches. I forgot we just did 4 single crochets. Ugh. Piece of cat hair in there. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and that's going to bring you to 16 stitches. And then I want you to do 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 16 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And an increase. Follow my screen prompts and I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your decrease again, you're going to go in and pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3. Now these are just ears, so I'm not really going to be too worried about the invisible decrease, which is just doing it in the front loop only. I'm actually just going to go into the full stitch. We are not stuffing these, by the way. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. And that brings you down to 8 stitches. So you go right into a decrease because this is your 1 single crochet. And repeat it. So once you are done, you can do 2 rows of 1 single crochet in each of the 8 stitches you have. And we're not sewing this shut, we're going to leave it open, but you can fasten off with a sewing tail because that's going to be your ear. So I'm not going to use my marker for the last couple of rows, I'm just going to count to 16. That's my 16. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, I'm going to do a slip stitch, and I'm going to fasten off with a sewing tail. I'm going to go into the stitch next to it, and I'm going to pull it through. Let's try that again. I'm going to pull up, so that just kind of brings this to a nice round, even, Steven. So that's your ear. So this I did on my other one that I'm not going to do on this one. But all you simply do is take your yarn and go, while it's open, start from the inside and just go up through this hole, down through another hole, and just keep looping it. And that's how you get that effect. But I am not going to do this on this ear. But there are things that you can do, and I'll show you after. Other things you can do other than that. And it requires makeup and a blush brush. So build your other ear, and I'll meet you back. Alright, so I got my other ear done, and I've got my, what I'm going to do with this one. So I've got a makeup kit that I bought specifically for my dolls and stuff. So because I'm got this brown thing going on with this specific guy, I'm going to use this brown blush. You can use the brushes that it comes with, but I bought this specifically because I like it better. So just get some on your brush. You want to blow it or tap it to get the excess off. Fold where you want it. So fold that in half so it doesn't get all over the place. And just brush the area that you want. So from here to here is the only spot that I want this to be. And you don't have to go super, super, super dark. Or you can go super, super dark. And then just use your thumb and spread it out in any directions that you don't think it may be not covering. But just do little bits at a time. Don't try to do like it all at once because you don't want to screw this up, right? So. And that actually came out better than my last one. My last one didn't come out so well. So that's what I do. That's what I'm gonna start doing actually with my ears. So, and that will stay there. That won't come off. So that's what I do. I put makeup on my dolls. So I don't know if you can see mine. I sewed mine on open, but you can't actually really tell. So it doesn't matter whether you sew them on open or sew them on closed. I personally find it's easier to sew them on open, and I also find that it gives a better hold. But it's completely up to you. Either way, pinning it's probably a good idea. These are hair pins or wig pins, whichever they're called. Wig pins, I think they're called. And I use them to, they're really, really good pins. So figure out where you want your ears. Now, I made the hat, when I designed the hat, to be at least 4 stitches in between. So when you put these on, imagine that there's 4 stitches in between your ears, if that helps. I think mine might be too far apart. But pin them and then have a look. Well, that might be, that looks more like a mouse than it does. Let me move mine closer together. So 4 stitches will probably fit in between there, no problem. So now we just need to sew this on. This is going to be very hard to do on camera, so if all of a sudden I'm not on camera, it's because I was struggling. But I'm going to do invisible stitches like I did the snout, so I'm going to come in as close as I can to the ear. You're not even going to be able to see me. Close as I can to the... I'm going to go into the doll and go up into this stitch as close as I can to my lead, and then I'm going to pull up. Now I'm sewing this on open, so I'm going to try to hit every stitch all the way around. So this is what you should have so far. Super duper cute. We're not putting eyes. So the next thing we'll do is we'll do the feet. So I'm sticking with my 5mm. So we're going to do a magic ring, 6 single crochets. You're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. I'm just going to count to 12. That's my 12. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's my 1 single crochet, and then my increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. All the way around for a total of 18 stitches. So this is what it should look like so far. Let's do something with this guy in the middle. So I don't want this to keep coming open. So pull it as tight as you can, and then we're just going to make a small wee little knot. Push it right down. Cut off with your nubby. So I've done my 3 rows. And we're going to do 1 single crochet and a decrease. So this is my leg. I'm going to fasten off with a sewing tail. There's still a bit we have to do with this leg, but baby steps. So fasten off with the sewing tail. So we still got to make the pads for the bottom of the feet, and we need to stuff this guy, and we're going to sew the top shut. But before we do all of that, I'm gonna put on my screen for you to make your second leg. You can fasten off and stuff him, and then we'll come back and do the pads together. Just make sure you stuff these guys to be the same size. Alrighty, I almost knocked my camera over. So, I've got mine stuffed so that they're the same size. I've pulled this yarn through. Oh, I did the same here, so doing what we've done to everything, going into the next stitch and pulling them through. So we're going to sew the top shut. We're going to whip stitch it shut. So you want this thing on the side. So a whip stitch is back loop to back loop. But we can just go under the whole entire stitch. We don't have to do that nonsense. Alright, so let's make these foot pads. I got a little bit of brown. Hopefully it goes a long way. So you're going to make a magic ring. I'm using my 4mm. You're going to make a magic ring and put 4 single crochets in there. Pull. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so that's going to be 8 stitches. Now I'm just going to count. There's only 4 stitches, so. That's 8. And now you're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase, bringing you to 12 stitches. So you're probably asking yourself, why didn't you just do a magic ring with 12 single crochets? Because aesthetically, this looks better. It's 1 single crochet, then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. So you're going to end up with 12 stitches, and then you're going to fasten off, because this is it for the foot pad, and then make your other one. So I will go see you after your other one is made. So we have our big ones done. We need to make the small ones now, excuse me. So the small one is a magic ring and 4 single crochets. And that is it. Hole is closed. You're going to go into this stitch here. You're going to fasten off. It's tiny. Now you do need a little bit of a tail. There's not a whole lot to sew, but you're going to want to go in and out. Since you're not going to be able to do invisible stitches, you'll have to go in and out, and I'll show you what I mean. So you need 6 of these all together, so go ahead and make 5 more of these. Should be quick and easy, and I'll meet you right back here. So I've got all mine done. So this little guy at the back, you can either cut him right off or you can make a knot. I don't really think anything is going to happen if you just cut it off, but I'm going to make a knot just in case. I'm going to do the same with these guys. So Doesn't really matter which end you do it on, just pick a side. Put the big one on first. Just make sure you're putting it in a spot where you're going to have enough room. Yeah, I think that's good. So this one here, it's big enough that you could probably do invisible stitches. But I don't know if it's totally necessary. You can just probably stay in the brown. So if you go in and out like you're gonna with these small guys, you're gonna go in and just pop out somewhere. But go back down the same hole and come out a different spot on your pad. So that's what you're going to do with the small guys. So go in close so it just looks like part of the stitch. Alright, yeah, my pad's done. I actually put a little dollop of glue behind each one, fabric glue, or you can use clear school glue too, for safekeeping. I like to do that just in case. So you need to determine where you're going to put your little padded feet. We determine 4th row up. Just going to hold this in place. And I'm going to go down into the doll and up into the... So as close to the foot as you can so that it'll suck the stitch underneath. So if you want it to stay up a little more and not flop down, let me take the pin out so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you want it to stay up and not flop down, you're going to have to come along the side here. And put a couple of stitches in there to hold it up a bit. And the same with the other side. I'm going to put a 3rd one in because I want mine to stay upright. So, go in as close as you can to your lead and just scooch over to the other side here. Down. Oops. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll move it after I get over. So scooch it over. And then you can do the same thing over here. Do your invisible stitches. Now these probably will be noticeable being on the side. But don't try to grab too much foot. Like I'm just grabbing a few strands. You don't really need to grab any more than that for this to hold. So it'll be less noticeable. So now my foot kind of sits up a little more on its own with the help of just a few stitches on the side. So not really noticeable hugely. Just an idea. You don't have to. I'm just going to put one more in and then I'm going to weave. So I'm just going to come down into the doll and pop out wherever I pop out. So try when you weave in different directions back and forth. The whole theory behind the weave is if somebody pulls on that, your yarn is going to get all lodged up inside there in the stuffing and it's not going to be able to get pulled off. So go ahead and sew your other foot on and I will meet you right back here and we can get the arms done. There we go. There's my little bunny. That's him from the side. Cute. Cute. So let's move on to arms. The hat's going to be last because it's the biggest. So 5mm. You're going to make a magic ring and put 6 single crochets in there. These are so fast and small. And we're not stuffing them. So you're going to put 1 single crochet in an increase. So you only have 6 stitches. You're going to do that 3 times. And it brings you up to 9 stitches. So you can just count to 9 actually if you want. Pull your middle closed. And then you're going to do 10 rows of 1 single crochet in each of these 9 stitches. And then I'll show you how to do the pads for the arms. But so I'm going to leave you here with your directions of doing the 10 rows, and then I'm going to put up the directions of what we just did, and you can make your second arm. I'm just trying to make this video shorter, and then I'll meet you back after your second arm is done, and then I'll show you how to do the pads, and then we'll sew them on. But don't stuff them, these aren't getting stuffed. So I have done my other arm. I'm just going to fasten off with the sewing tail. You don't need much for sewing. So we're not stuffing this arm. So go into the next stitch and pull your thing through. Pull up. And like I said before, it just evens it out. So we're not stuffing this guy. But we are going to whip stitch the top of it shut. That might be a little long. So what I did for this, you don't need to do, but if you want to, piece of brown. So just go in wherever. You can pop out wherever you want your first thing to be. Let's try that again. So all I did was made an X, sort of, and then I came across, oops, and across. So I just sort of made an X. And then I went back down and popped out in another spot. And I did it again. And then for the bottom one, I just came down and I just did a couple of loops around a couple of times. Like that. And then I just went out here. So that's how I did the pads on my paws. So I sewed the arm on right at the neck. So if you know anything about gnomes, you know that most of the gnomes people make, I mean the gnomes that I make, these are my regular arms and I just leave them hanging, and everything is accentuated as far as their feet and stuff like that. So it may seem like these arms are extra long, but because it's, sorry, I just poked you. But because it's a gnome, I think it's fitting. But if you did it and you're like, oh my god, that's just horrible, then you don't need to do 10 rows. You can do whatever. So I'm just going to come across here. I don't really need to weave him in, but I will, just to keep up good practice. But I don't think anyone's going to be ripping at this arm. There's not much to this arm to really rip off. So, there we go. So go ahead and make your second little pads and sew up your arm, sew it onto the body. And I'll meet you right back here to do the hat. Oh no, we gotta do the tail. Tail's next. So get your pom-pom maker. So, if you have a set of these, then you have this really small guy. I'm going to use brown because that's what I've been using throughout this project. So we're just going to make a pom-pom for his tail. So take your little thingy mabobber if you don't know how to work one. You just wrap. Now you're going to wrap around. Don't wrap over this. Wrap as close as you can to it. You want to make this as even as possible. I just start a new ball of brown. You're going to make this as even as you can. And you're going to wind until this arch disappears a little bit. So then you know you're pretty full. So this part takes a little bit of time because you don't want it to be sitting on top of that thing. So once your arch starts to disappear, you can just close this bad boy, snip off your excess, and wrap the other side. If you don't have one of these, then you're going to be wrapping your brown around your probably 3 fingers, 2 fingers. It's not a big tail. And you're going to wrap until your fingers basically turn blue and are ready to fall off. So my little humps disappeared. So if you're using your fingers, you can take it off your fingers. You need to cut before you take it off your fingers. You need to cut a piece and lay it down. So when you take this off your fingers, you're going to lay it down and then tie this around it, the center. If you have one of these, you're going to take your big industrial scissors. You're going to go at the front and you're going to snip Then you're going to take your piece of yarn, you're going to stick it down into that groove and you're going to pull till you feel it come around to this side. And then you're going to tie some double knots, nice and tight. Nice and tight. And then bring it back around just for added security. And tie some more double knots. Sucker's not going anywhere. And now you can open your sides. Open your sides and then pull this apart, which can be quite difficult. So any high pieces you're just going to trim off. If you want to trim and trim and trim, say you did a bigger one, the more you trim and the smaller it gets while you're trimming, the fuzzier it'll be. Just in case you want a really fuzzy tail, then just keep trimming. So we're just going to attach this with a series of knots, really. Sorry, I gotta stick that into my mouth to wet it. So find your middle. I didn't exactly find my middle last time. My tail is not quite. So figure out where your middle is. So that's going to go up like this. We're going to take this guy. See, I didn't wet it. This is what happens. Ew. I got that in my mouth. So this guy's going to get pulled this way. Oh, see that? See, again, that's not the middle. Let's try this again. I need to get the middle. That's more like it. Alright, let's try this on the other side. And then you can go through the exact same spot, but just the opposite direction. Get him in the middle. And then you're just going to tie a tight double knot, which is going to, you're never going to see it under this tail. But make it double. And then you can either cut it off, you know, you would think that there was a big enough head on this that I wouldn't have that hard of a time threading it. But for some reason today, they seem to be. So I'm just going to go down and I'm going to pop out. Great big powder puff tail. So, figure out what colors you want to use for your hat. I'm just going to go with one color for mine. And I'll meet you right back here. So, first things first with this hat. We're going to be making this first. It's going to seem like a very long process, but it's actually not. It goes pretty quick. So I'm going to use a 5mm, and the two colors I'm going to use is pink and this blue. You don't have to use two colors. I just I'm going to use two colors because I don't know, it's Christmas or Christmassy, Eastery. So start with the slip knot, and I want you to chain 5. And then I want you to single crochet back 4. So this is where it changes. So chain 1 and turn. You're going to work in the back loops only. And that's how you're going to create that ribbed look. Now it's only 4 stitches. And I know how sometimes it can be quite awkward, but it's only 4 stitches. But you're going to do this for 38 rows. Chain 1 and turn, 4 stitches, back loop only. So I say 38 rows because that's what I did, but I really don't know how you stuffed your doll. So you're going to have to take what you're doing and you're going to have to just wrap it around the head and measure it wherever you want the hat to sit. Now I'm going to have mine sit right on his muzzle. And, well, I mean, I guess it all depends on where I put the ear holes too for you. But as far as the circumference, you're going to have to measure. Now don't do it until it actually meets. Do it until it's a little tight. But for this one might actually be different because I think I stuffed his head a lot differently than I stuffed this guy's head, because his head looks rounder. But I did make this a little big, so he probably will fit on him. So I'm going to do 38 rows, but just know that I'm going to be checking mine too, so it may or may not be 38. Don't hold me to that number. So I got 29 rows. And it fits like that on his head, so I stopped because I think that's enough. I don't want you to go till it's like that. So I stopped there at 29 rows. So these two ends need to come together just like this, and we're just going to slip stitch the two ends together. Just like that. So then when you get here, now this is going to be the top. Just chain 1, even though we're not going to be chaining. We're going to build this in amigurumi style. I hate seams. So I'm just going to chain 1 here, even though I'm going to be going to half double crochets. I don't really need the height right here to go into a half double. So that's why I'm only chaining 1. So all I want you to do is wherever, so we got to create stitches. So wherever you can stick your hook into, I want you to put a half double. So all the way around, wherever you stick your hook. And generally you're going to get 2 in these spots, but wherever you see a space that you can just get your hook into, you're going to do a half double. So if you're not sure what a half double is, you're going to yarn over, go into your hole, pull up a loop. You got 3 loops on, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's a half double crochet. So wherever you can get your hook into. So I got 28 stitches. I'm going to go for my 29th stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch. And I'm going to chain 2 because I need the height. But from here on out it's going to be complete amigurumi. So we need to start off with a decrease instantly because of what his head looks like. So this round is going to be 7 half double crochet decrease. That's 7 half double crochets. The reason I'm not using a stitch marker yet is because I chained for the height, so I don't really need it. So half double decrease is you yarn over, you go into your first stitch, you pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, go into your second stitch, pull through 2, then pull through 3. That's a half double crochet decrease. And then we have one left. And then we're not slip stitching or chaining 2 here. So your next round, we're going to build the holes for the ears, but I want to change colors. So you don't have to change colors. So I'm going to go into this space. I'm just going to use the space of my chain 2. I'm going to pull through, but I'm going to change my color to finish the stitch. And I'm going to pull through all 3. So that's a half double that I just did, in case you're wondering. We're on half doubles. So I need you to do 12 half doubles. That's going to be number 1, so that's where we're going to put our stitch marker. My bunny rabbit was sitting on it. So that's where we put our stitch marker. Now this yarn is a lot thinner than the blue I'm using, so this might be a pain. So 12 half doubles, that's number 1. That's 12 half doubles. Now I want you to chain 5 and skip 4. I'm going to cut this blue off. So I'm going to skip 4 and I'm going to come in to my 5th stitch with my half double. And then I'm going to do 4 half double crochets, and this will be what's in between the ears. That's number 1. And now I'm going to chain 5. I'm going to skip 4. And in this final stitch, well, not the second to final stitch, I'm going to do half double the hard way, and then I'm going to put one more half double in the last stitch, and there are our ear holes. Alright, so I had to get rid of this stupid little thing down here. It was driving me nuts. So your next round is just going to be 1 half double crochet in each stitch. And when you come around to your spaces, just put them into the space. You're going to put 5 into the space. There is one just before the space. Make sure you get into that. It's a tight one. So I'll put 5 right into the big space. Now you can move these around because they're not attached to anything, so you can spread them out, make it look pretty. So your next round is going to be 6 half double crochets and a decrease. So this is our marker space, which is number 1. That's 6 half double crochets and then your decrease. So because we had an oddball number, or at least I did, you're not going to be able to finish your sequence, which is fine. It's just a hat. So I'm just going to finish. Oh my good lord, this yarn splits like crazy. I have 3 half doubles left, so I'm just going to put 3 half doubles in there and not worry about it. And your next row is going to be 1 half double in each stitch. So your next round is going to be 5 half double crochets and a decrease. And then your next round after that will be 1 half. We're going to do this throughout the whole entire hat. Then your next round will be 1 half double crochet in each stitch. So this round is a 5 half doubles and a decrease. So your next round, oh, I just want to say before I go to the next round, our numbers may not be the same. So if I'm flashing numbers on the screen, those are the numbers I get, but I don't know how many you went around here. I don't know what the size of your head was like because I don't know how you stuffed it. So for stuff like that, it's kind of hard to give numbers, but I just wanted to let you know that before I get hate in the comments about no numbers. So your next round is going to be 3 half doubles and a decrease. So we're going to finish this off with 1 half double crochet, a decrease. And then 1 half double crochet in each stitch around, and then we're just going to cinch the rest of it closed. Oh, that's 8. Actually, that's what I had for my other hat, so I lied. That is 8. So we are done. We're just going to cinch this closed. So go into your next stitch. Do a slip stitch and fasten off. A little bit of a tail. So we're going to put a pom-pom on this hat too. So I'm going to go, where's my first stitch? Right here. I'm I'm going to go in and out, just picking up one piece of yarn. In and out. Exact same thing if we're doing a doll, like what we did closing up the head of the bunny rabbit. It's the exact same thing. We're just cinching it shut, as opposed to sewing, because I want a point. So when you pull, you're kind of making a point, since it is a gnome hat. So I'm going to come across and I'm just going to put an extra little knot in there just to kind of hold everything. Scooch down, cut it off. So we make our little pom-pom, and then we can sew it on. So you can decide if you want your pom-pom to be... I'm just going to use my hands. I'm not going to use a pom-pom maker. I'm going to put both these pieces together. That's what I did to make this pom-pom. I just used my hand. I'm just going to put both pieces together. And I'm going to wrap around my forefingers till my fingers turn blue. No, I'm not making one that big. But I do want it to be fuzzy, so I am going to make it a little bigger than I want it so I can cut it down to being fuzzy. And I'm just going to use up what I have here. I'm going to save some of this blue to tie a knot with. I didn't really save enough blue for that, so I'm going to use my pink to tie a knot with. The blue's a little thicker, so take your thing and lay it down, and you're going to tie a tight double knot. Sorry, I'm not even on camera. I'm so used to doing things close to my body. So tie a tight double knot. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut your loopies apart. There's a lot more cutting involved when you do it this way as opposed to a pom-pom maker. But it's faster to just make one sometimes. So I'm just going to shake this out, and then I'm going to start to trim. Get all these extras. So the shorter you go, the fuzzier it'll be. So I made it bigger than I wanted it so that I could get the fuzzy look for the pom-pom. So give it a shake so it'll pop up all these guys. So for the video, I'm just going to stop there. I could just do this all day. So we're going to stick these two things down the tippy top of the hat. In two different spots, preferably. So I'll make sure you have it where you want it. Yeah, I think mine's alright. So now we're going to tie a double knot, super duper tight, just to make sure that that pom-pom is pulled all the way down and it's not going to be flopping around, just like you do a regular hat. Except for this one, we're just cutting off the ends. We're not tucking them in because we don't care. Just going on our bunny. There we go. And then we put it... Oh, sorry, you know what I forgot? This little straggler guy. He needs to get tucked in somewhere. Now we can put it on the head. So, one ear first, the second ear, there we go. So, how I wanted this to sit is right down over his face like that. That's how I wanted it. So this little puff puff hangs down to his other little puff puff. But if you wanted this to stand up like that, you just have to stuff it. So, I mean, it does stay up for a short time, but moving him and stuff like that, it's gonna flop over. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.